Okay, here's a thought experiment for you. If you could, right now, go back to being, say, 12 years old, junior high maybe,
Mm-hmm.
but you get to keep all the knowledge, all the life experience you have now, would you do it?
Oh, that's the classic fantasy, isn't it? The ultimate do-over.
Right?
Yeah, imagine navigating all that middle school chaos perfectly, knowing exactly what to say, who to avoid.
You'd basically be unstoppable, a
Yeah.
social genius at 12.
Exactly. But, I mean, maybe the whole point is actually not knowing, stumbling through the confusion.
That's true. That messiness is growing up. Still, that core fear, the fear of aging, of losing relevance, it pops up in really weird ways today.
Oh, definitely. We were looking at some source material discussing this. It mentioned everything from those intense face filters people use online
Yeah, the digital stuff.
to even the premise of that movie, The Substance, where, the character tries to literally create a younger, quote unquote, perfect version of herself. It's tapping into that same anxiety.
It really is.
Yeah.
And it's all about controlling perception, creating this manufactured reality. The source mentioned a South Park episode too, right?
Yeah, where girls use apps, filters to become these online stars, even if they look totally different in person. And guys are chasing this filtered illusion.
Which kind of sets the stage for what we're digging into today. We're going to unpack some shifting cultural vibes, some really surprising historical facts, and maybe the psychological toll of living in this digital age.
Yeah, we're pulling from a pretty wide-ranging conversation, everything from parasites causing stereotypes, believe it or not,
Right.
to trying to figure out why 70s fashion just went off the rails.
We're definitely trying to find the why behind some of this stuff. Like, why did certain moments in culture seem to, well, lose the plot? And what does that maybe tell us about where we are now?
Good question.
So let's start there with aesthetics. Looking back, particularly late 60s, early 70s, some fashion choices were just baffling.
Oh, totally bad.
I mean, bell bottoms so wide they completely hid your feet. Bell sleeves. And the colors, lime green, bright orange. Those huge pointy collars.
Like Elvis collars, but somehow worse. It was an aesthetic mess. It felt like the whole country just forgot what looked good.
Yeah. So the source material we looked at had this unexpected theory connecting this taste collapse to drug policy.
Right. This is what they called the psychedelic schedule theory. It's a bit controversial maybe, but interesting.
Okay, lay it out.
The argument basically goes, the big crackdown on psychedelics, mushrooms, LSD, that kind of thing with the Schedule 1 classification in 1970.
Right, made them highly illegal.
Exactly. So the theory suggests that cutting off access to these, let's say, perspective-altering substances, it shifted the cultural drug of choice. Cocaine became more prevalent.
And cocaine has a different vibe, more edgy, aggressive.
Yeah, maybe associated with narrower thinking, less expansive creativity. So the argument is this shift away from psychedelics towards stimulants like cocaine contributed to, well, losing cultural perspective, leading to those bizarre fashions, Disco, what the source called shitty music.
Wow. Okay, so bad fashion fueled by a change in drug preference. That's a take.
That's definitely a provocative idea. And you see a parallel maybe in car design too?
Oh, absolutely. Think about designs that last forever. The original Jeep. Classic blue jeans. They just nailed it right.
Timeless.
Then compare the muscle car era of the 60s. Gorgeous car.
Oh, yeah. The 65 GTO, the Mach 1, 67 Chevelle. Pure style, pure power. They meant something. Owning one was a statement.
Huge status symbols, but then, boom, the gas crisis hits in the 70s.
And everything changes. The aesthetic just collapses.
Suddenly, efficiency is king, not style. And you get these cheap, plasticky, often V6 cars that look like, I don't know, souped-up econoboxes, like those awful Mustang pests that resembled Ford Pintos or Fiestas.
Yeah, they just lost the magic. Aggressively bad, like you said. And don't forget the really weird stuff like AMC.
Oh, God, the Pacer and the Gremlin.
Visually
That's
challenging. Remember the joke about the Pacer? That it looked like the little submarine from Fantastic Voyage?
Yes, it really did. A fishbowl on wheels. It was such a decline from those amazing 60s cars.
It really was a fall from grace.
And that idea of status, identity wrapped up in the car.
Yeah.
You mentioned the Mach 1, the Corvette. Down south, having the cool car, like a 65 Corvette convertible. That made you somebody.
Oh, yeah. Local legend status. The source mentioned a specific term for that kind of guy, the cool playboy cruising in his ride.
What was it?
The Boxmaster.
Boxmaster. Okay. A very southern term, I guess. Defined a whole persona.
Exactly. A specific aspirational identity.
But speaking of southern identity,
Yeah.
that leads us to one of the biggest, most damaging stereotypes in America, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The whole slow southerner, lazy southerner image.
Yeah. Right. And this is where the conversation shifts from like cultural trends and drugs to something much more biological. And pretty shocking, actually.
Yeah, the source material laid out this explanation for the stereotype that's purely based on medical fact, nothing to do with character or intelligence.
That's the hookworm connection. And it's startling. Basically, back in the late 1800s, early 1900s, a huge chunk of the southern population, maybe up to 40%, were infected with hookworm.
40%. How?
Simply from walking barefoot on contaminated soil, which
Right.
was, pretty common then, especially in poorer rural areas.
Okay, so they get infected.
Mm-hmm.
What does hookworm actually do to a person?
It's nasty. It attaches to your intestines and feeds on blood, so it causes chronic blood loss, which leads to severe anemia.
Ah, anemia. So extreme tiredness.
Exactly. Persistent, deep fatigue, but
Hmm.
also, crucially, a kind of mental fog. Difficulty concentrating, slowness of thought.
Wow. So the slowness, the drawl, the perceived lack of energy. It wasn't laziness. It was literally a symptom of mass parasitic infection.
Precisely. Millions of people were physically debilitated by anemia and exhaustion. The cultural stereotype was just the visible effect of a widespread public health crisis.
That is mind-blowing. And how did they fix it? Seems like a massive problem.
Surprisingly simple, in retrospect. The Rockefeller Sanitation Commission tackled it, not with some high-tech solution, but basic public health measures.
Like what?
Mobile clinics giving out free anti-parasitic medicine, deworming people, promoting better sanitation, basically, building and using outhouses, latrines, and the biggest cultural push.
Let me guess. Wearing shoes.
Bingo. Just getting people to wear shoes routinely made a massive difference.
Something so simple. It basically changed the health, the economy, the whole feel of the region. Incredible.
It really shows how biology can just fundamentally drive culture and perception.
Oh,
But the stereotype itself, it lingered, didn't it, even after the hookworm was largely gone?
oh yeah. The source talked about how it persists even now, like in Hollywood casting calls,
Right, Southern actors getting told to sound more Southern.
which usually means they want that exaggerated foghorn leghorn caricature, not, an actual Southern accent.
Exactly. Or think about musicians. Bands like the Allman Brothers. Incredibly talented, blending jazz, blues, rock. Just masters of their craft.
True virtuosos.
But often, they just got slapped with the label Southern rock. Kind of dismissive, lumping everything complex into one simple, sometimes disregarded category. It limited how people outside the South perceived their actual artistry.
Yeah, that idea of artistry, the source material had an interesting take on that too, about where real talent comes from.
Mm-hmm. The idea that true artistic genius, that feel, it's maybe something you're kind of born with, like inherited experience or intuition almost.
As opposed to just technique.
Right. You can teach techniques, scales, chords, brushstrokes, whatever, but you can't really teach the soul, the attitude behind it.
Yeah, I remember that Miles Davis quote mentioned anyone can play the notes, basically, but it's the attitude that makes it music.
That's it. That unteachable spark separates the greats from just the technically good.
But then, when that mastery leads to success, fame today seems almost designed to be, well, corrosive.
Yeah, the public relationship with successful people is weird now. There's almost this default setting to root for failure or to believe the absolute worst.
It's not entirely new, I guess. Think about those crazy urban legends about celebrities.
Yeah.
Like that bizarre Richard Gere gerbil story from years ago.
Oh, God, yeah. Completely baseless, but it's spread like wildfire. Why? Because, the source suggested, people want to believe weird, bad things about the rich and famous. It makes them feel better, maybe.
Or just brings them down to earth in a nasty way.
Yeah.
And in the arts, that hostility gets specific, like for actors who are also musicians.
Ah, yes. The ultimate backhanded compliment, or maybe just insult. It looks like you're having fun up there.
Ugh, yeah. Like it's just a little hobby minimizing all the skill and work involved.
Totally dismissive. And it seems like that hostility ramps up even more when someone crosses over from, say, critically acclaimed indie stuff to big, popular mainstream success.
Right. Like going from sling blade to leading man roles, as the source mentioned. Suddenly the knives come out more.
And this whole dynamic is just amplified massively by the overexposure crisis we live in now.
Yeah, the constant media access. It killed the magic, hasn't it?
Completely. Think about older stars like Jack Lemmon or maybe Bob Dylan. There was a distance, a mystique. They felt like untouchable heroes in a way.
You respected them partly because you couldn't just walk up and grab them.
Exactly. Now the expectation is total access. Fans feel entitled. They'll grab your arm, demand a selfie, get mad if you say no. Journalists mock you to your face sometimes. The respect is gone.
And it's fueled by reality TV, all the behind-the-scenes stuff. It just makes stars too human,
Yeah.
too ordinary, strips away the necessary illusion.
Yeah, it removes the very thing that makes fame work. And related to that, the source was pretty blunt about awards for art.
Oh, yeah. What was the take?
Basically, they're stupid, especially peer-voted ones like, say, the SAG Awards, which can be more about politics or popularity context than actual merit.
So the real reward is just people actually enjoying the work.
That seemed to be the conclusion. Genuine audience connection beats a statue handed out for political reasons.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And the engine driving all this,
Yeah.
change, the exposure, the criticism, the weird dynamics.
It's the internet, right?
Absolutely. The ultimate disruptor.
Yeah.
The source mentioned an early prediction that the internet was basically destined to ruin people's view of each other and society along with it.
Oof. Bleak. But maybe accurate.
Well, consider this fact from the source material attributed to an FBI analyst. It's staggering.
Okay.
They estimated that on platforms like, say, Twitter, as much as 80% of the communication might be generated by bots.
80.
80%. Think about what that means.
It means most of the outrage, the political fighting, the U.S. versus them screaming matches online. It's not even real people half the time. It's automated accounts stirring the pot.
Largely manufactured or, at minimum, massively amplified by bots. It's like artificial societal breakdown, programmed conflict. That is deeply unsettling. And the human cost, especially for younger people growing up entirely inside this digital environment.
It's immense. The sources point directly to the mental health crisis we're seeing. Rising rates of depression, anxiety, self-harm, suicide, particularly hitting young women hard.
And the connection is the constant comparison.
Yeah, constantly comparing their real, unfiltered, often messy lives to the curated, perfected, often heavily filtered images they see online.
Those liquefy filters and stuff, creating beauty standards that literally don't exist in reality.
Exactly. It's an impossible, digitally fabricated ideal. And living under that pressure cooker of comparison 24/7, it's brutal.
And then there's the impact on just focus, attention span. The source called it TikTok brain.
Yeah, the addictive nature of super short-form content, it rewires your brain, makes it harder to engage with anything longer, more complex, like history.
So you lose context.
You lose the map. The source mentioned young people today not knowing who Ringo Starr is, or Gene Hackman. Major cultural figures, just gone from collective memory because the attention span isn't there to learn the history.
Well, okay, so wrapping this up,
Thank you.
we've gone from ridiculous 70s fashion
Bell sleeves and disco.
to hookworms changing Southern identity to FBI scats about Twitter bots fueling division today. It's quite a ride.
It really shows how these big external forces, whether it's a parasite, a law about drugs, or a social media algorithm, just profoundly shape how we see ourselves, how we act, how society functions.
So the takeaway for you listening, maybe the most valuable thing right now is carving out space for actual focus, finding ways to escape the constant digital noise.
Absolutely. Protect your attention, seek out environments like maybe long-form conversations, hint, hint, that allow for deeper thought.
And one final thought to leave you with, building on all this. We know, historically, that child stardom, becoming famous, incredibly young, like a Ricky Schroeder or a Britney Spears.
Yeah, it's almost a recipe for psychological damage, right?
Right. Because it's such an unnatural, historically new situation, our brains just aren't built for that kind of intense, targeted exposure at that age.
It's too much, too soon. Hard to navigate.
Okay, so if that relatively rare kind of fame is so damaging, what does this current era mean, this era of universal digital exposure, where basically everyone lives under a constant spotlight, both from others and from their own self-criticism online?
What does that new fame do to an entire generation's mental health?
Yeah. We're running this massive, uncontrolled social experiment on ourselves in real time.
And we're only just starting to glimpse the potential trauma, the long-term effects. We are all truly just figuring out how to live in this entirely new world.
Something to think about. That's our deep dive for today.